This is our soul edge. It's housed in a dynamo cabinet that we're in the process of restoring. Eventually we'll cover all the holes, fix the control board and all that stuff. But most importantly, as of right now, the marquee light was making a horrible buzzing sound. It was really bad. It sounded like it was going to light on fire at any second. So we yanked that out and we put LED strips in its place. This video, I'm going to show you exactly how we did that and a little bit of the install as well. Here it is with the marquee off. You can see there's not really much to it. Just a couple wires coming into the transformer, which is bolted to the side of the case for some reason. I don't know why that's like that. Usually the light fixture is all self-contained and the ballast will be inside of it, but this has the ballast on the side. Probably part of why it sounds like it wants to start on fire any second. But we're going to take this out. It's just a couple screws. We'll pop that out and determine whether or not we can use the existing wiring for the LED strips or if we're going to replace it. But either way, it's pretty simple. Alright, so drop the screws out. That's out. We can pull this. This is just these twist-on house wiring type connectors. Those things suck. Don't use those. They're dangerous. When you're dealing with stuff like this, always use shrink connectors and proper ballast off. Alright, that comes out. Somewhere where it won't fall. Drop that screw. I can disconnect this one here. And that is out. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't look good. You can see there the white and green wire plugs into the switch, which is going to be AC house electric. So we're going to have to cap that wire off and we'll just run new wires for the LEDs since those run on DC power. Here are the masonite strips that I use for the backing plates. I wanted to make this as quick and simple as possible, so I just cut down some 1/4-inch masonite on my table saw, 18 inches by 2 inches. You can cut them to whatever size you want, but I found that this is a pretty good all-around size for most cabinets. Drill 2 holes in them, and then it's just 2 screws. 2 screws in, 2 screws out. Super easy to install. If anything goes wrong, pop out the 2 screws and then you can replace it with a new one. So this is the LEDs that I use. They come on this roll. They're really cheap. Everything's all done already. All the guesswork is taken out. Whatever resistors need to be put in are already in them. So all you have to do is wire them up. People think it's complicated. It really isn't. Let's see, we're going to measure this out to the board, which goes to about there. Cut it off. Glue it down, tin it up. It comes with this 2-sided tape on it already, which isn't very good. Sometimes if you heat it up it gets sticky again, but it's really not that good. It's better if you use some sort of glue. Most of the time I'll use hot glue because it's quick and easy and it works really well. You can use 2-sided tape, you can use pretty much anything you want. Even staples work, but I don't really recommend that because when you use staples, you have a very good chance of punching through one of the traces, and it might work while the staple's in there, but if the staple needs to come out for any reason at any time, then it's going to leave a gap in the trace and then the lights won't work. So I got nice and close so that you can see how I complete the circuit. It's really simple. You have 4 wires, or four pads I should say. The main pad is your 12 volts. This is your main power. Okay. Now you have RGB, which is red, green, blue. Those are all marked here. Each individual lead hooked to a ground will give you one of those 3 colors. If you hook all 3 together, that'll give you white light. And in this case, that's exactly what we want to do here. So first, we're going to tin the leads there. Get a little bit of solder paste on my finger and put it on the pads. If you don't want to get it on your hands, use gloves or whatever. It doesn't bother me. A little bit of solder on the soldering iron, and when you touch the pad, it should flow nicely over the top of it. You don't need very much, just a tiny little bit on the end of the soldering iron. Usually will be plenty. Once those are done, you grab your wire pieces. I already have mine pre-made so it goes quicker. You want to tin these, so dip these in solder paste. Let's see, I'll give you an idea. Just dab it in there just to get a little bit on it. So do that for each one. A little bit of solder on the iron, and then that should tin very nicely. Make sure it covers the whole thing. This way when you solder it to the pad, it will actually flow much better. So you're going to take this piece and you're going to put it over the 3 that you want to connect together. And you put the soldering iron on it and flow the solder. And that's one. Now we're going to bend this one into the shape we need. A little bit off here. Let's see. Oop. There we go. Being a little stubborn. Let me move the tape. There we go. Much better. Okay, so that's in place. Flow the solder through. Make sure they're all connected. This one looks like it might be a little weak in the back there, so I'll put a little more solder on the back. Okay, that's good for those. Now, for our 12 volts, we want to connect this pin over to this pin so we can complete the loop around. A little bit of solder flux. We'll take this, make sure it lines up fairly well. Okay, it's pretty good. Tin the wire. Okay. Pinch this together a little more. Get that one in a good position. Okay, and that one's looking good. So once you've completed the circuit around the sides, now we can take this and we can do the power leads. And the power leads are simple. You only need one. This side we won't even worry about. We'll leave that untouched. This side, we're going to do the same like we did before, connecting all three of the RGB colors together, and then a single lead for the 12 volts. So tin the wire. Drop it on the pad. Come on. There we go. Okay. Tin the wire. A little more solder. There we go. Put this one in here. Make sure that the two aren't touching together. Flow that in. That's a beautifully good connection. And like I said before, this one here goes off to your ground. This one here goes off to your ground, which is the three colors mixed together. 12 volt goes to 12 volt on your power supply, and everything should work fine. Now that we have the circuit complete, we want to hook it up to 12 volts to test it. I have a standard HAP 12 volt switching power supply. The 12 volts is already connected. That's headed in to the straight wire there to 12 volts. And then what we're going to do is we're going to touch the ground to the ground on the power supply and see if it works. When doing this, you want to hook to one of these two at the top. Depending on the machine, sometimes you'll touch this ground lead down to the earth ground lead, which is this green wire. You don't always have to do that. In this case, for testing, that's not really necessary. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this over to the ground. We're going to connect this one to the ground and see if the lights work. All the lights are on. Everything looks great. Another look at that. So now on to the real stuff. This one can go to 12 volts. Let's swap that one to the other side. Take that one and put this one on that side like so. That one in like that. Tighten those up. Okay. Now these can get bundled right into this other harness here. Make sure it's not stuck on anything. It's out of the way. Grab a couple zip ties and we'll tighten that up. Give it one check again before we do. Okay. If you want to go ahead and get a shot of that Out of your way.
Namco.
So here it is, all buttoned up. Marquee's in. Looking absolutely beautiful. Wiring's all finalized. You can see I just tied it right into the rest of them. Runs the harness back. You can't really see inside the cabinet, but you get the idea. Backing along and up. And then here's the front of the power supply. Kind of hard to see. You can see the purple wire here. This is our 12 volts. And then the ground wire up here. Those are the two that we ran from the top. Just ran them directly into the power supply. And that's a beautiful thing. Hope you liked this video. If you want more like this, give me a like. Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next time.